Hello, my name is Dr. Jackie Agrari-Sabet. I'm a board-certified allergist in the Washington, D.C. metro area, and I'm the medical director for telemedicine for the Allergy and Asthma Network. Today, we're going to be talking about notes for parents. Particularly, we're going to be focusing on allergies and back to school. This summer is like no other summer, and I think we're going to be spending most of the time really figuring out how to make 2020 a great school year with all of what's gone on at the end of the school year from just this past spring. All right, let's dive right into it in terms of allergies. There's a whole bunch of different types, which many of you parents may be familiar with. You've either got a child that's got food allergy or some that have environmental allergy, and we'll talk about that a little later. It's not as severe and significant with anaphylaxis. You may well have a child or a student that has latex allergy. That's a lot more common if they've had some sort of chronic illness and been exposed to latex. And I want to reassure you about insect venom. It's very unusual for a school-age child, meaning anybody under the age of 16, to actually have an anaphylactic reaction to insect venom, to bees and such. Okay, so how do we get this underway with making that safe environment at school? That's really where this is all starting, is if you can avoid these triggers, hey, then we're home free. But that's not as simple as it sounds. You really need to do an awful lot of coordination. And I encourage you to spend this summer working with your child, working with the school, working with your healthcare provider to really make this team and bring it all together. Because remember, allergy safe does not mean that we're living in a bubble and you're allergy free. It really comes down to education, preparedness. I think if we've learned anything from all the health issues in these past few months, it's that we need to be prepared, and we need to be prepared for that emergency response. Let's have everybody be part of that team, your child, your student as well, and let's be sure we're really doing what our best practices. So get yourself educated on what those best practices are. You need to know how to prevent those exposures. You need to know how to respond in an emergency. I often tell parents and school nurses as well, why don't we even do sort of a drill, like a fire drill, but it's an emergency preparedness drill to know where your student goes when they get into trouble, who's dialing 911, who's got that emergency medication for your child. Let's take a look at this wheel as it spins round and round with your student, of course, in the middle, and all of the other players out on the spokes that make the wheel go round and round. We've got your healthcare provider, who is definitely there to be part of the process of education. And then we have the school nurse, who is so important, whether that's a nurse or a school technician, to make sure they're all on the same page and that they have a chance to have input into how they think your child is going to be taken care of at school, and you're able to give them your input. And that really comes down to the parent and the family. But it's definitely, no matter what the age, it's the student in the center. Let's take a moment for environmental allergies. I want to point out to you, first of all, how incredibly common this is. This is the most common chronic disease in this age group, meaning the whole pediatric age group, running from kindergarten all the way up to high school. It is the most common chronic disease. And this is going to happen whether it's an indoor allergen, which of course, schools being closed up this long, there's a lot of dust mites and a lot of molds when we physically go back to school. And then oftentimes when we open school back up again, it's right at the beginning of the fall pollen season. All of those things come together and they act as triggers. So know that that's what is about to happen when your kid goes physically back to school, and let's work through the summer to come up with a plan. Part of the plan needs to be, let's not send them to school and they're completely schnookered. Let's not send them to school on sedating antihistamines. Let's try to use the ones that are often 24 hours that don't make them sleepy. Therefore, they can be given at home. Don't put that on the school nurse to be able to give that medication to your child as needed and have them have to stop in the school nurse's office every day. I mean, you don't have them brush their teeth at school. You have them do those kinds of self-care at home. So we should be doing the same with our allergy medications, and have your student going into school fully medicated from home. Now, what happens if you do run into anaphylaxis? This is, you did all the planning, and then in the end, your child most likely was exposed to a food. Again, very unlikely that they would have a stinging insect allergy. And I can reassure you, if it's the first time that the child ever got stung at school, you do not need to worry about that being anaphylaxis. It is not common at all. It's in fact incredibly rare that anybody would have a reaction the first time they were ever stung. Latex allergies, you'd know if your child had that. Medication allergy, it's not that they're suddenly going to get a medication at school that they never had before. And sometimes the cause is unknown, but the one we really think about so often, and you parents know who you are, is if you've got a food allergy child. The message you want to be giving in terms of best practices for everybody to participate in is epinephrine first and epinephrine fast. That really comes down to how that school form is written. Spend the summer getting that school form edited completely the way that it needs to be, which is not observe my child, which is not give them some kind of antihistamine. If you know they are at risk of anaphylaxis, they are at risk of a life-threatening reaction, get that epinephrine first and fast for your child, and run through that kind of food allergy drill with the school and with your student as well. Make sure that you know that the school knows how to get a hold of you as well. Provide a phone number that you will pick up. So when it comes back to our student, who is so much at the center of this, please do listen to your student. One thing that I always talk to parents about that have a child with a potential for anaphylaxis is, I have never seen such a group of students, no matter what their age is, who actually do learn a lot of good life skills because of their anaphylaxis. They learn to communicate with adults. They learn to represent their own feelings and symptoms. They learn to seek out help, and they learn to advocate for themselves. Really empower your student for all of those wonderful talents. Talk to the school personnel, because really your school nurse is the champion for your child and can help you in setting up those environments, particularly this year as we go back to school. There's talk about not having children in cafeterias, having them eat at their desks. There's a whole lot of resources that the network can provide you in terms of how to navigate that to keep that area clean and safe for your child. And with all of that and the planning that we can do this summer, I really hope it's going to be a great year for your children. I've had the pleasure of helping many families for the over 25 years that I've been practicing allergy, and getting them all the way from preschool through law school for some of them. And so I'm wishing you all the best. And if there's any further help that we can be, please contact the network and take a look at our other videos. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.